Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 5th overall spot using Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. The roster positions for today's mock are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 5 bench spots. In this draft, we're going to be drafting up against the ADP from ESPN. Before we get on into the mock, though, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So the draft begins with Ja'Marr Chase, followed by Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, and Justin Jefferson. That seems like a very normal start to a draft. Now, obviously, Justin Jefferson is dealing with a hamstring injury, but the belief is that it is not super serious, and he will be out there sooner rather than later, so I don't think you need to necessarily panic and drop Justin Jefferson outside of the top 6. The top 3 in a majority of drafts are going to be Ja'Marr Chase, Bijan Robinson, and Saquon Barkley in some order. Sometimes you'll see Bijan go 1. Sometimes you'll see Saquon go number 1. My number 1 pick, though, would be Ja'Marr Chase if I was up at the 101. So at the 105, to me, it is a choice between 2 players. And the top 6 in a majority of your guys' drafts are set in stone. Again, the order might be a little bit different, but the top 6 a majority of the time is going to be Ja'Marr Chase, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, the order might be a little bit different every time. So the pick here for me would be between either CeeDee Lamb or Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, based upon what we have seen out of camp with the Detroit Lions, where they're liking to use Jahmyr Gibbs earlier on in games, meaning that they are putting Jahmyr Gibbs out there with the ones early on. And that really wasn't the case throughout Jahmyr Gibbs' time with the Detroit Lions. You would see a lot of games where it was very frustrating, and David Montgomery is in there for the first couple of drives, or maybe even the full fourth quarter, and Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of just chilling on the bench watching this happen. And it really made no sense due to how explosive of a player and how talented of a player Jahmyr Gibbs is. So this year, if what we are seeing out of training camp is correct and Jahmyr Gibbs is out there first with the team, then Jahmyr Gibbs could easily finish as the running back 1 this season. I love CeeDee Lamb a ton, but I definitely want to lean with Jahmyr Gibbs because I think his upside really is the running back 1. And despite the fact that they did lose Ben Johnson, I am still very excited for what the Detroit Lions offense will be this season, and I think we should be able to get a solid wide receiver in the 2nd round. So our team right now, we've got Jahmyr Gibbs. After we took Gibbs, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ashton Genty, Malik Neighbors, Devon Achane. The 2nd round opens with Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, A.J. Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Jacobs. Now, interesting enough, Ashton Genty in his rookie debut, preseason game number 1, looked like absolute dog shit if you just look at the stats. Now, if you actually watch the game, when all of the first team guys were in, Ashton Genty got 1 carry for 4 yards. And then after that, they put in the backup quarterback, some of the backup linemen, and Ashton Genty got absolutely plowed behind the offensive line twice in a row. And now his stats are negative. People are like, oh my God, Ashton Genty's a bust after 1 game. I know a lot of people are just joking when they say that, but don't panic about Ashton Genty. If you felt confident about Ashton Genty before preseason week number 1, you should still feel the exact same way. 3 carries shouldn't move you. It's the same exact thing with Omarion Hampton. Did he have the best debut rookie showcase at the Hall of Fame game? No, but he is still that guy. So don't panic at all after that. So for me, based on who's available, the pick would either be Bucky Irving or Drizzy Drake London. Now, if you wanted to go with Trey McBride, I guess I would be fine with that, but I don't really want to draft Trey McBride a few picks after Brock Bowers goes, when I know in some leagues you might be able to get a guy like Trey McBride inside the 3rd round, and in some leagues George Kittle goes inside the 4th round, so I don't really feel comfortable going with a tight end at the 208 unless that tight end's name was Brock Bowers. So for me, we're to go with Drake London. We're going to take a very balanced approach to the start of the draft, perfectly balanced as all things should be. Now, it is important to note that Ladd McConkey has actually been missing practice. He has been a non-participant in the Chargers practice on Thursday. He's recovering from an injury right now, and the team is comfortable with him taking it easy at this point in the preseason. So should you be full-on panicking, DEFCON 5, wee-woo, panic mode, you can't draft Ladd McConkey? The answer to that would be no, but it is definitely something to monitor. For me, we are going to go ahead and get Drizzy Drake London here. The final 3 games of last season with Michael Penix Jr. as the starting quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, he was forcing the ball down the throat of Drake London. 8 targets, 13 targets, and 18 targets. Of course, he's not going to average like 15 targets per game, but he is going to see a load of volume in an offense that I expect to look better this season. They have a decent enough offensive line. I think Michael Penix Jr. again is going to lock on to Drake London. I think Drake London is a steal in the middle of the second round, and honestly, there's a strong argument to be made that he should be going at the beginning of the second round. After Drake London, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Bucky Irving, Trey McBride, Kyron Williams, Jaden, Stormy Daniels, T.H. Higgins, as well as Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is currently dealing with an oblique injury and did not practice today. Am I full-on panicking? No, just something to note. Right? You want to keep tabs on the injuries, because if we get to late August and Tyreek isn't practicing, then you really, really, really want to start to panic. Same thing with a guy like Ladd or Justin Jefferson, but right now, it's early enough in August that I'm not going to panic too much. So we are up on the clock here, and since so many teams have already went with the quarterback, 3 quarterbacks already off the board, 2 tight ends off the board, which isn't really all that out of the ordinary, right? That's not a crazy thing to happen, especially in a lot of home leagues. That is very likely to happen. A guy like Chase Brown falls to us at the 3.05. I think there's an argument to be made that Chase Brown should be drafted ahead of Kyron, should be drafted ahead of Jonathan Taylor. I feel like Chase Brown is honestly in the same range in talent as a guy like Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs. Not really, I guess, talent, because I don't think Chase Brown is as good as those guys, but I think he is in a great situation. We just saw the Cincinnati Bengals defense get absolutely face-fucked by the Eagles backups last night. So if their starting defense is getting run over by a reindeer, grandma got ran over by a reindeer, then you need to be very worried about how bad the defense is, and we're going to be seeing a ton of checkdowns to Chase Brown. I think if he falls all the way to the 29th overall pick, I'm picking him every single time and not even thinking twice about it. Now, if Chase Brown wasn't here, I probably wouldn't go with the running back, even though I do like Breece Hall. I would probably take Omarion Hampton, if I'm being honest, but based on ADP, Omarion Hampton should fall to the 4th round, but once we get to actual late August, early September, that's just not going to be the case, because the facts are the facts, right? Najee Harris is playing like a pirate out there. The guy's one eye. He took a selfie the other day, and one of his eyes were closed like he was Fetty Wap, so I'm very, 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 very concerned about Najee Harris, which means I have to continue to move on up Omarion Hampton, because the starting running back in a Harbaugh system has the opportunity to dominate game in and game out. If we were to go wide receiver, again, I'm not in full-on panic mode about Ladd McConkey. So if he fell to me in the 3rd round, I'd be fine with that. I like Jalen Hurts, but I think I'd rather just wait a little bit and get a different quarterback. So Chase Brown is kind of the no-brainer pick there, in my opinion. I also would have considered George Kittle as well, even though sometimes he does fall into the 4th round. After Chase Brown, Jalen, stop, it hurts. Ladd McConkey, Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, James Cook, George Kittle, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, JSN, Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, and Sam Laporta. Now, I have no problem with the player Sam Laporta. I have no problem with people ranking him as their tight end number 4. I don't think that's an egregious ranking, but my problem comes with the fact that I think there should be a buffer between George Kittle and Sam Laporta that is much bigger than what we are currently seeing, because I feel like there's a pretty clear drop-off after the top 3 tight ends, and I feel pretty similar about Sam Laporta as I would with a guy like Evan Ingram, who goes multiple rounds later, as a guy like Mark Andrews, who, without Isaiah Likely early on the season, I think Mark Andrews could potentially be the tight end 1 for the first couple of weeks of the season. I think if he is a mainstay in this offense, they're not just going to fade away from him like a shot by Michael Jordan if Mr. Isaiah Likely is back. So I really do think that Mark Andrews is a steal right now. So why in the world am I paying a 4th round draft capital for Sam Laporta? I just wouldn't, personally. So we're back up on the clock here. Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, all still available. Maserati Marv has been described as unguardable in training camp. That is a report that I read. Now, let's see if that actually is the case this season. He has been dealing with a knee injury, so that is obviously something to note as well, but I believe he has practiced since then. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an immense talent. He is one of the most talented wide receivers, in my opinion, in the NFL. The question is, can the Cardinals squeeze that talent into actual production on the field? And for fantasy football players like you, me, right? I want that actual production. I don't want him just running go routes. I want them giving him the correct usage, and we have yet to see that really be the case. He did have the big boom. Shout out to the Costco guys, the chicken bake. Shout out to the Rizzler, but I don't really know with 100% certainty that they're actually going to figure that out. So I like Marvin Harrison Jr. I think a guy like DJ Moore or Cortland Sutton are a lot safer. Rashee Rice is expected by the Chiefs. The report came out today that the suspension will be anywhere from 4 to 6 games. And that's kind of what I've been saying, 3 to 6 games all summer. It's kind of obvious that after Jordan Addison got 3 games, it would probably be more than that. So 4 to 6 makes sense. I don't know if I would want to pay the 4th round draft capital for him. So I think we'll go with DJ Moore. Now, DJ Moore kind of feels like a boring pick, right? He let us down last season in a big way, but DJ Moore has that #1 role in Chicago. As far as I know, I think that Ben Johnson's really going to turn things around, do a 180 with this offense. I think Caleb Williams is going to look a lot better. So I think DJ Moore can end up having a huge year. There's been reports that they're using him out of the backfield as well. Deebo Samuel back in like 2021 or 2022 with the 49ers before they brought in Christian McCaffrey. So DJ Moore is definitely, you know, is he the most exciting pick? Do you blow a load in your pants when you take DJ Moore? In my opinion, no, but I think he could end up finishing much better than this. Now, if this was my actual home league, I don't typically start off with 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds, but if Omarion Hampton was available at pick 44, I would take him, but I just don't think that is realistic at all, in my opinion, because I'm trying to do this drafts as realistic as possible, what I think could actually happen, and unless you're drafting with a bunch of fucking stooges, I don't think Omarion Hampton is falling into the 4th round, so we're going to go ahead and go with DJ Moore. Wiki at this pick. If you guys have enjoyed today's video thus far, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you're new. Whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you leave a like on today's video. So after we went with DJ Moore, Chuba Hubbard, Marvin Harrison Jr., Xavier Worthy, Omarion Hampton, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, James Conner, and Breece Hall. Breece Hall is falling for absolutely no reason, in my opinion. I know everyone is sucking off Braylon Allen, but Breece Hall is still that guy in this offense. Before we make our next pick, though, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog, it's not using promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description, you receive your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash, as well as getting my draft guide with just a $10 deposit. If you don't know what Underdog is, it is the best place to play best ball. If you don't know what best ball is, it's the best part about the draft, or about fantasy football. It's the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineup at the end of every single week. Their biggest tournament, Best Ball Mania, $2 million to first place, $15 million in total prizes, just $25 to enter. They also have smaller entry contests on there. Make sure you guys check that out. Link in the video description. And if you do want access to my rankings and you're already on Underdog, or you're not interested in Underdog, you could check out the link in the video description on Patreon. $12.50 a month. You'll receive my half PPR and full PPR draft rankings and cheat sheet. So we're back up here. We already got Gibbs, Chase Brown, Drizzy Drake, London, and DJ Moore. I would be absolutely ecstatic about this start of my draft. I feel very confident in Gibbs, Brown, and London. And then DJ Moore, I feel like at minimum, he's not going to be a complete and utter disaster. And if things do end up going his way, he's the clear alpha wide receiver in Chicago, then he could end up being a top 10, top 12-ish level wide receiver. We're back up on the clock here. And since we already have Jahmyr Gibbs and Chase Brown, I don't really feel a need to draft David Montgomery here. I'm definitely not going to draft both running backs on the Lions at this price. And I like Travion Henderson, but I don't really feel the need to draft them because I already feel confident in Gibbs and Chase Brown. So for me, it's going to be the wide receiver position. I am pretty out on Patrick Mahomes. I do still think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the National Football League. Now you could argue about Burrow, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson, but to me, Pat Mahomes is that guy. But the team has shifted more towards trying to run the rock at a higher rate, play great defense. So while Mahomes still, in any given game, I would sell my feet pictures on the internet for the rest of my life to get Patrick Mahomes to be the Dolphins quarterback, but that will never happen because ain't no one want to see that. So Pat Mahomes, I love the guy in real life, pause. Kermit the Frog himself, but I don't really like him that much in fantasy. So for me, the easy pick here would be Courtland Sutton. Now, if Courtland Sutton wasn't available, I would be going with either Jalen Waddle or Tet McMillan at this pick. I think that Jalen Waddle's very underrated this season because last year, the whole Dolphins offense ended up imploding with the injury of Tua. The team as a whole just wasn't clicking correctly, really, even with Tua. And I think they're going to bounce back. And without Jonnu Smith, him being down Pittsburgh, I think you're going to get a lot more design dump-offs, a lot more design screens going the way of a guy like Jalen Waddle. So I would feel confident picking him here. Same thing with Tet McMillan, who I think will be the wide receiver one in Carolina. It might take some time for him to get that true connection with the quarterback, Bryce Young, but I think eventually that will all be figured out, and the upside of Tet McMillan is immense with how well the team played down the stretch of last season. After Courtland Sutton, Joe Mixon, Pat Mahomes, DeAndre Swift, Baker Mayfield, Travis Hunter, Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley, David Montgomery, Ron Jones, George Pickens, Jameson Williams, and Jalen waddled away, waddle, till the very next day. So if I wanted to draft a quarterback in the 6th round, it would be Bo Nix. I'm a pretty big fan of Bo Nix this season. He started off kind of meh through the first 8-9-ish games of the season, but down the stretch, Bo Nix was really just nails, and I really think that Sean Payton really is the quarterback whisperer. Sure, he couldn't get much out of Mr. Unlimited and the other quarterbacks they had there, but Bo Nix really did look good. Towards the end of the season, he has some decent-ish rushing upside as well, so if you wanted a quarterback in this range, go with Bo Nix. If you want a tight end, I'd be fine taking Evan Ingram, David Njoku, or Mark Andrews, but I think we may be able to wait until the 7th round to get one of those guys. Now, only one team here has a tight end so far, but since they have quarterbacks, I think that makes them less likely to go with a tight end. So I think we'll go ahead and get our first bench piece because, again, while I do like DJ Moore, there is definitely some risk that Rome Odunze ends up overtaking him as the wide receiver one in this offense. So Tet McMillan could be a solid pick here, but I have been really heavily talking up TreVeyon Henderson. Now, I was completely out on Henderson a couple of days ago, really, because I really still think deep down Josh McDaniels is such a dumbass that he's going to give too much work to Ramondre Stevenson. But Henderson has looked so good in this training camp footage. He has been just absolutely sucked off, metaphorically, of course, by the media. They're giving him the gawk 9,000 two-handed twist McGee onto him because of how good he looks. Pause. Allegedly, he also has a huge cock. I saw a video of a woman talking about how she got sent a picture of the guy's schlong and it was hanging below his knee, and that makes me even more confident in Mr. Big Dick TreVeyon Henderson, so I'm going to go with him here. Definitely a little bit more risky, but when we already have Jahmyr Gibbs and Chase Brown, he's more of a flex option for us anyways, and we can get some high upside wide receivers as we go further and further into the draft. So we end up seeing Henderson come off the board, Jerry Jeudy, Tet McMillan, Rome Odunze, Cooper Kupp, which is just an absolutely egregious pick in the 6th round, right? That's just the kind of pick where someone's like, oh, I know who Cooper Kupp is. I remember when Cooper Kupp went crazy in the Super Bowl up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Do you remember when he was the Triple Crown winner? That's the kind of guy that selects Cooper Kupp inside the 6th round. Caleb Johnson, Stephon Diggs, Jacoby Myers, and Chris Olave. So here, we're just going to go ahead and get our stack. We're going to get Bo Nix matched with Courtland Sutton. Do you need to stack in a redraft league? In my opinion, no. It is definitely a little bit more risky, right? Because if Bo Nix ends up taking a shit down his pant leg, then you end up seeing Courtland Sutton probably be a dud as well. But when Bo Nix has that big game, Courtland Sutton's having a Michelin star meal cooked by Guy Fieri. So Bo Nix, in my opinion, is a fine pick here with the stack. I'm a big fan of Bo Nix, like I already talked about, so we don't need to, talk about him too much. You guys should already know, most people know how good Bo Nix already is. After Bo Nix, Isaiah Pacheco, RJ Harvey, Tony Pollard, Chris Godwin, Kyler Murray, the Texans defense, Brock Purdy, Pittsburgh Steelers, Brian Robinson Jr., Denver Broncos, Matthew Golden, Tyrone Tracy, Jordan Addison Ray, and Deebo Samuel. Now, some people might say, Nick, in my home league, it is actually never taken, our defense is never taken in the 7th round, well, congratulations, you play with a bunch of smart people. You should never take a defense in the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th round. You should be taking your defense and your kicker with the 13th and 14th pick. And if you really love a defense, go ahead and take them in the 12th round, but you don't need to be taking one in the 7th or the 8th round. You could draft a guy in the 7th or the 8th round that ends up being a legitimate league winner. And you could just wait on your defense. We stream defenses over here on this YouTube channel. I will explain to you how to do that later if you don't understand that. But for me, I think it's crazy to do that. But again, it is kind of realistic because if you guys are in leagues with, you're playing with Uncle Jeff, right? You're playing with Uncle Joey, Uncle Jesse, right? You're playing with the fucking Full House crew. You're playing with Danny Tanner, right? You are playing with your coworkers. You're playing with Michael Scott, right? So you want to go ahead and understand that that is going to happen. Now, if you're in a sharper league, this should never happen. In my leagues, some people do this, even though they are a lot more sharper than I would say the majority of people would be. Because a lot of people, they just play with their friends that don't do the most fantasy research. So we're back up on the clock here. And the question really would be, do we really want to go with 3 Denver Broncos? Like, I love Evan Ingram, but when you're in a league where you're only starting 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. You want basically close to half of your team on the same team? No. Now, if you are in a start 9 league, start 8 league, right? It starts to make more sense, but in this scenario, I'm going to go with Mark Andrews, even if it's a quote-unquote reach. I believe that Mark Andrews has the upside to be the tight end 1. I know that at the end of the season, the last thing you remember is Mark Andrews dropping the ball up against the Buffalo Bills, him dropping the ball, him just fucking the game over for the Baltimore Ravens. But when he got hot after the start of the season where he was absolutely terrible for you, he was ripping off clear top 8, top 10 games. I think he's going to be very consistent for you. And the best thing about having a tight end like Mark Andrews is that you didn't punt the position. So now you don't have to play the game every single week of, oh, okay, I'm going to play Dallas Goedert this week, but I don't like his matchup next week. So now I got to play Zach Ertz or Jonnu Smith, Kyle Pitts. You just kind of have that locked and loaded value unless there is an injury. And the best thing about that also is that you don't have to take a second tight end, right? If you're going later on at the tight end position, you might be like, I need to draft a second tight end. If I draft Tyler Warren, he's a rookie, I need to package deal him with Dalton Kincaid or Dallas Goedert or Brenton Strange, right? Whereas if you just take Mark Andrews, you don't have to take a backup. Same thing goes with Bo Nix, and you don't need a backup quarterback, so you can just load up on more value on your bench. You might be thinking, Nick, what happens when Mark Andrews is on bye or Bo Nix is on bye? Or if one of them ends up getting hurt, well, if one of them ends up getting hurt, you just pick up someone off of the waiver wire. In a 12-team league, unless every single motherfucker in your league is rostering 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, it is easy to find a replacement for a couple of weeks. So, and there's always that guy that just comes off the waiver wire at the quarterback and the tight end position. That's a league winner. Cough, cough, Jonnu Smith, right? We saw where you could pick up Justin Fields last year and he was ripping off top 10 games left and right. So I don't think you really need to be super invested in taking a backup quarterback or tight end. I think it's actually not beneficial at all to your fantasy team. So after we went ahead with Mark Andrews, Khalil Shakira, Javonte Williams, Keon Coleman, Cam, I'm a scat man, the Baltimore Ravens defense, Jawan Jennings, Jalen Warren, and JK, just kidding, Dobbins. So we're back up on the clock here. Got 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a quarterback, and a tight end. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. For me here, the pick is between Josh Downs and slick Ricky Pearsall. Didn't love what I saw out of the Colts. Anthony Richardson goes down on, I think it was the 2nd play of the game. They snap the ball. He doesn't look to check it down. He gets absolutely shit-rocked, sent to Azkaban. He breaks his finger, I believe. Daniel Jones didn't look good, but apparently Anthony Richardson's going to be fine to practice within the next couple days, but it didn't look the most promising. I still love Josh Downs, though, but I'm going to go with Slick Rick. The more time is spent in the offseason with Jawan Jennings hurt and with Brandon Ayuk hurt, the farther and further up you want to be moving Ricky Pearsall. I understand the 49ers offense was an absolute disaster. Just kind of as a whole last season, there was injuries. The team as a whole was a sinking ship. And if you had Christian McCaffrey, you went down with the fucking ship. But a guy like Ricky Pearsall did flash last season. He had some big games. So I think Ricky Pearsall should be able to put up a solid sophomore season. And this year, hopefully he doesn't get shot again, so he's able to actually practice more throughout the offseason. So we're back up on the clock. It says our top suggestion is Evan Ingram, which would be foolish after we already drafted Mark Andrews, after Ricky Pearsall, the cold like Minnesota Vikings, Ramondre Stevenson, the Eagles, the Birds, Travis Etienne, Austin Eckler, Tank, Bigsby, Tajay Spears, Michael Pittman, Justin Herbert, Jordan, the numbers Mason. What do they mean? David Njoku, Rashad White, Jaden, Riley Reed, and Quinshon Judkins. At this point, I don't even know if Quinshon Judkins is going to play a game this year. He's going to get hit with a lengthy suspension 100% once he signs, but he still hasn't signed. He should not be on your board. If you're a home league draft, see, my home league draft is next Monday, coming up in a couple of days. Whoever drafts Quinshon Judkins, I'm going to laugh directly in their face. Now, if we get to late August and he signs the contract and he gets the suspension, then okay, I get it. But right now, it makes absolutely zero sense to be selecting him. And that's why when you draft on a website like ESPN, when you draft on NFL, when you draft on Yahoo, these websites have the most dick cheese ADP. It doesn't make any sense. There's values left and right on the board. Whereas when you draft on a website like Sleeper, now Sleeper doesn't sponsor me. They don't pay the bills. Or if you're on Underdog, promo code Notorious, or click on the link in the video description, right? Those are the kind of websites where people are actually drafting smart. The ADP is smart. Whereas on ESPN, NFL, you are just able to violate the ADP because it makes no sense, the players that are available at this point. Emeka Egbuka is basically everyone's favorite sleeper, which, I like Egbuka a ton. I've been talking him up for a while. That does worry me when everyone gets on a player and when everyone collectively fades a player. Typically, you kind of want to do the opposite thing, right? Last year, Saquon Barkley can't possibly do it because he's a little bit older and he's an injury risk and blah, 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 blah. And you take him at the end of the first round. If you took him and you took Derrick Henry, you probably won your league, right? So people panic about a lot of things. You should probably zig when they're zagging. Like Egbuka, the fact that everyone is just whipping out the knee pads to suck this dude dry, that worries me. It does. And I still like Egbuka, and I'm still going to draft him, but would it surprise me if when everyone is on a player, if he just ends up being a complete and utter fuck up? No, it would not. So we're just going to fill our bench out with some more running backs and wide receivers. Now, Kenneth Walker has been banged up. He just continues to get banged up every single year. So that always kind of gives a boost to a guy like Zach Charbonnet, because all Charbonnet needs is to get time on the field, and he could be a top 10, top 5 running back. I have said for years at this point that I think Charbonnet is actually better than Kenneth Walker. A lot of people disagree with me, but look, there's games where he's the literal RB1, top 8, top 7 in back-to-back weeks. The upside is there. He just needs the carries. Thing is, though, the team has made it very, very, very clear that Walker's the guy. So you're not going to be seeing much Charbonnet when Walker's healthy, but if Walker does get hurt, you have just found a diamond in the rough. So I think we're going to go wide receiver here and swing things back with a running back, but honestly, I kind of want to just get my guy. I'm fine grabbing a guy like Rashid Shaheed a little bit later, even though I do like Egbuka as well as Josh Downs more. I want to get my running back. Jerome Ford has been a little bit banged up, but I think he's back at practice. I wish they would update this shit. For James Cook, still holding out. That gives Ray Davis a huge boost, so we'll go ahead and go with him. Is it a lock that James Cook is still holding out by next week, by tomorrow? No, but it seems like he really wants that contract, and James Cook is not a guy that's played 50%. He didn't play 50% of the snaps last year, so Ray Davis is going to get some work as well. So if you are in a real pickle, like your name was Rick, you could probably start Ray Davis any given week, even if you're not going to get like 15 fucking points, but he might fall ass backwards in the end zone and score 9 points. After Ray Davis, Emeka Egbuka, Darnell, here comes the Booney, Rashid Shaheed, Dickie, Dak Prescott, Jaden Higgins, Evan Ingram, Tucker Kraft, Mac and Cheese, and Dallas Goddard. So we're going to take Josh Downs. Actually, see, I would take Josh Downs. Look, if this is my real home league, I'm taking Josh Downs. He's not going to be here. There is no shot. So we're going to go with the slot demon, Christian Kirk. If he becomes that safety valve for CJ Stroud, you understand that you should understand, and if you don't know that, I'll just tell you, the Houston Texans offensive line is so bad. It is a turnstile. The offensive line folds like a cheap suit. They are going to be getting bent over a table game in and game out. So, you know, they're trying to hit Nico Collins deep, and they're going to do that. But if CJ Stroud is about to get plowed by some dude, pause, that is absolutely gigantic, pause, then Christian Kirk is going to be getting a bunch of safety valve targets. So I like Christian Kirk. I think Jaden Higgins is better than him. But if Christian Kirk is getting that slot role, he could have some decent upside if you start him any given week. So I'm fine going with Christian Kirk there, even though if it was a real draft, I'd take Josh Downs. But again, I don't think Josh Downs would actually be there. After Christian Kirk, we see Jack Besh, followed by Colston Loveland, Jerome Ford, Detroit Lions defense, Josh Downs, Zach Charbonnet, Trey Benson, Dylan Sampson, Adam Thielen, Najee Harris, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Keenan Allen, Tyler Algier, and Jaden Bonnie Blue. So we don't need a backup quarterback, a backup tight end. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers, 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs. We're going to go ahead and get our 5th running back. Garendo's banged up. Jordan Mason, not Jordan Mason. The other guy there, name is James Jordan. Whatever the fuck the other guy's name is in San Francisco is banged up. Christian McCaffrey sees him because they don't even have a healthy backup that's legitimately talented. I like Braylon Allen a bunch. I'm a big fan of Breece Hall, but if something happened to Breece Hall, based upon how heavily they have talked about how good Braylon Allen has been in training camp, I feel pretty good about him as a solid handcuff. And even if he's not used as a handcuff, he's kind of like Ray Davis, where he's going to get some work where you might be able to start him again. I wouldn't say you could start him every week. Jaden Blue would have been my favorite pick there, but he also ended up getting banged up yesterday, but again, nothing really too crazy to where I think he'd be out a serious amount of time. Isaac Garendo, Jalen Wright, Vishal Tootin, Rico Dowdle, Jared Goff, Jake Bates, Brandon Aubrey, Chase McLaughlin. We're going to go ahead and go kicker here, and then we're going to explain how to draft a defense. We're going to go with Cameron Dicker, the kicker. So the way you want to draft a defense is very, very simple. You don't draft who the best defense is. Nick, that makes no sense. Don't you want to have the best defense? All that matters to me is taking your defense and switching them every week. You want to have the highest upside at defense weekly. Sure, the Denver Broncos might be the best defense in the NFL, or the Eagles, whichever defense you think is the best, but they're going to run into buzzsaws. They're going to have matchups where they're going up against teams that might be able to blow their back out. Teams that might be able to run up the score even against them. So you're going to want to have a defense that has a good matchup in week 1. Now, I know the Bills are playing the Ravens, so that is a bad matchup. The Chiefs, they're playing, if I am correct, the Chargers. I am chronically in the, just looking at shit. Paul, when you say chronically looking at shit, it sounds like you're just some A1 gooner, but chronically looking at stats and stuff that I already remember a lot of the matchups. We have the Rams against the Texans. Again, the Rams have, I've said this a million times, the Rams have a great defensive line. The Texans have a bad offensive line. That leads to great defensive performances. The Rams would be my favorite defense to draft, and I don't think they're going to be available in a lot of your guys at home league. So that's why if you don't draft them, right? If someone's going to pick them, they're probably a top 12 defense in the NFL, so you want to make sure that you are targeting them so that you don't just pick some other defense and then you're like, oh, let me watch Nick's defenses to pick up, and then by the time I have all the analytics in terms of how much they're owned in each league, and they're owned in more than 50% of leagues, then I can't talk about them, and most of you guys wouldn't be able to actually pick them up, even though they are an excellent pick for their week 1. So my team, to recap things, is Bo Nix, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, Drake London, DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Cortland Sutton, Los Angeles Rams, Cameron Dicker. The bench is comprised of Travion Henderson, Ricky Pearsall, Ray Davis, Christian Kirk, and Braylon Allen. We got an A. This shit was an A+, 105 out of 100. I love this team. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I've been shadow boxing a bunch after watching that Creed edit. I don't know if anyone else saw that on TikTok. I've been watching a bunch of Rocky edits, have me ready to run through a wall like my name was the Kool-Aid Man. So hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video if you are new to the channel or not. Check out Underdog, promo code Notorious to get your free pick. Get the draft guide as well as a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. If you want my draft guide, you can also purchase it on Patreon, $12.50 a month. Check out one of the videos on screen if you haven't seen them already. Love you long time. Have a great one. As always, good boy.